Hello, everyone. I'm Murray Rankin, British Columbia's Minister for Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. Today, I'm speaking to you from the territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, today the Esquimalt and Songhees nations, on whose territory I have the privilege and honor to live and work. Today marks an incredibly significant event for residential school survivors in Lower Post and the surrounding region and all of British Columbia and their families and all of Canada. Today's announcement is an important step forward in our journey to reconciliation with Cascaneta, Indigenous peoples in the North generally. I'd like to acknowledge those who have gathered with us today virtually as speakers and witnesses on Zoom, and the many Casca community members witnessing this event via live stream. I truly wish we could gather in person and look forward to the day when we can do so and travel again and celebrate together again, face to face. With me here today on Zoom are a number of people I'd like to introduce now. Deputy Chief Harlan Schilling of the Daylu Dena Council, John D. Ward, the Taku River Tlingit First Nation spokesperson, President Chad Norman Day, the Tahltan Central Government, British Columbia Premier John Horgan, Minister Marc Miller, Indigenous Services Canada. And to witness this important occasion, we also have with us the following: Councillor Catherine Porter of the Daylu Dena Council, Minister Carolyn Bennett, Crown Indigenous Relations in Government of Canada, BC Minister of Municipal Affairs Josie Osborne, and BC Minister of State for Lands and Natural Resource Operations and the MLA for Stikine, Nathan Cullen. Welcome to everyone. I'd like to start off by acknowledging residential school survivors and their families. If this event triggers unpleasant feelings or memories of past abuse, I encourage you to contact the Residential School Crisis Line at 1-866-925-4419. That's 1-866-925-4419. That number is pinned in the comments if you're watching on Facebook and in the captions below the video window on YouTube. I'd now like to introduce and thank Hammond Dick, Casca Elder, for this opening prayer.
Chia is to the Dogarita Rantan, John in Dazara, Go to do the seat Tazara, Tila City. Did it do sit down a qua? Could make you lassie. It's here, it's true, with the Grita. Sit down, John, shot dully, saw, get you, Sagrita. It's here, it's true, Mia, Tisa. It's here, it's true, with the Grita. Dirimetla. You Kwan, Google Lassie, Sia, Su, Medugrita, Samachi, Gutiago Asara, Sia, Su, Kondaga Laguda, Kagutai. Amen.
Thank you to Elder Hammond Dick for that very moving opening and starting us off in such a good way. The Daylu Dena Council and many Casca elders, leaders, and community members have been working towards this day for literally 4 decades. You can see in the photo behind me the strength and connection of the Casca Dena community. This photo was taken in 2019, back before the pandemic, when we could still gather together in person. Our next speaker is a strong voice for the Casca Dena. I'm honored to invite Deputy Chief Harlan Schilling of the Daylu Dena Council to offer his remarks.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to thank everybody for this historic moment for the First Nation, the Casca, the Tahltan, the Tlingit, and the Government of Canada. It's truly an honor to be able to be a spokesperson and a deputy chief for my First Nation. So first, I'd just like to thank everybody on that part. And Mr. Rankin, you're absolutely right. This torch has been the one thing that's been passed off from leader to leader, was to get rid of and finally remove this horrible building that's been in the center of our community and in the center of our lives for many people. So I'd just like to thank my community especially, and all the members and all First Nations that have kind of helped and pushed our leadership team to finally make this a reality. This means so much for the younger generation. I'm privileged and honored to be a young chief, so I get to talk to a lot of the youth in our community, and I listen to our elders. The excitement this means to us and for our future is unparamount. So I'm very excited for that. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. The people in the community and the First Nations that surround Lower Post, it's going to give us a chance to start that healing process. So, and the new building, it's going to be a new start. We've been making things work with having to work out of that building for many years, but I think it's going to be finally a turning point for our government to make some big changes, to start moving forward in a positive way. So yeah, I'm just super excited for that. As everybody knows, I'm not actually in the community right now. I was honored enough to do a quick wildfire fighting course with a couple of our young members. So that kind of explains the banner behind me. I'll be back home tomorrow. But with that being said, everybody knows about the forest fires of 2018 before the Premier Horgan came to our community. So it's nice to know that there's ambition for younger people in the next generation to know that we've got some very beautiful, important infrastructure. So we will have the assets to protect it. Next, I'd just like to thank the different players that made this actually happen. The inspiration and the passion to finally have this building removed was on all government levels. It was amazing to work with Minister McKenna's office. She was a great part in making this project happen. The Yukon INAC office here in the Yukon, unbelievable staff, and the compassion they have and the support that they give our community is unbelievable. And Premier Horgan, so much respect. And having you come to, your farthest northern community in British Columbia, it moved a lot of people. And taking the time to listen to the stories firsthand and to actually enter the building meant a lot. And it inspired me to keep going and pushing. So I'd like to thank the Premier for, like I said, it was a historic trip. So on behalf of myself and the community, we thank everybody, especially, like I said, the previous leaders and the chief and the councils. This is a success story for the people of Lower Post. We finally did it. So this summer is going to be the groundbreaking ceremony. We all hope that COVID will be a thing of the past shortly, so we could all hope. And this is a success for the First Nation, and like I said, Canada as a whole. So I could really just hope that when the groundbreaking ceremony happens, we can have a lot of people come. Our brothers and sisters, the Tahltans, the Tlingits, we would love to have everybody come and be a part of this. So again, I'd just like to thank everybody, my community, Lower Post. I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you very much. And again, the Government of Canada, INAC office we finally did it. So on behalf of Daylu Dena Council and the Liard First Nation. Thank you very much. It means a lot. So Minister Rankin, I'll give it back to you.
Thanks so much. And thank you for reminding us, Deputy Chief Schilling, of just how important this is. And thank you for your leadership. Daylu Dena Council and the Government of Canada and the Government of British Columbia have partnered to demolish the last remaining building of the former residential school and to build a new community and cultural centre in Lower Post that'll be a place of healing and learning for Kaska people. I want to add my thanks to the Government of Canada for their partnership and now invite Minister Marc Miller of Indigenous Services to make his remarks.
Thank you. Good morning. And as I am in Ottawa, I would like to underscore that I'm joining you from the territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe peoples. I'm happy to be here, in fact, on behalf of my colleague, Catherine McKenna, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, to join you virtually alongside Deputy Chief Harlan Schilling of Daylu Dena Council, Chad Norman Day, President of Tahltan Nation, John Ward, spokesperson for Taku River Tlingit First Nation, and obviously BC Premier John Horgan, as well as other dignitaries and colleagues, including fellow minister and friend Murray Rankin. The past year has certainly been extraordinary and challenging for many, and indeed all of us. The pandemic has had a devastating impact in countries and communities around the world, including right here in Canada and in British Columbia. However, with vaccines quickly rolled out across the country in Indigenous communities, we're now regaining a sense of hope, and soon we'll be able to get back to the new normal, gathering with loved ones and reconnecting in person. But obviously, to do so, we must continue to observe the strict public health measures as we tackle this dangerous third wave. Despite the difficult time, it's been amazing to see the remarkable ongoing leadership in many Indigenous communities in BC and the way you have pulled together with orders of government and stakeholders to protect people's health and security, to assist families and businesses, and to support local economies. It's together and only together that we've worked to get projects approved and implemented as quickly as possible, projects that make a positive difference in the lives of Canadians and Indigenous peoples, that move forward on shared priorities. As a department, we strive and we've continued to work hard on providing Indigenous communities with necessary resources and flexibility to respond to the most pressing needs during this pandemic, most notably the health and safety of your peoples. It's why through things like the COVID-19 Economic Response Plan, the Government of Canada has created distinctions-based the Indigenous Community Supports Fund, to name one of many, that has provided over $1.1 billion in support, amongst which $100 million has been distributed to First Nations for direct and needs-based funding in British Columbia. We've also been able to make important milestones with First Nations communities in BC to access, in particular, something that is near and dear to your people's hearts and indeed the hearts of all Canadians: clean and reliable drinking water. As people will note, Semiahmoo First Nation was the last to lift and achieve a remarkable milestone on March 31st, 2021, after successfully completing their community transition to the municipal water system in nearby Surrey, which restored reliable access to clean drinking water for all community households. This is a significant achievement, as I mentioned, and this is why since 2015 we've been supporting, and ISC has lifted, along with communities, 20 long-term water advisories from public systems on reserves in BC. We've also taken actions to address the needs of smaller or more remote communities which face unique challenges that brought by this pandemic. And for instance, just last week, we announced the funding to extend cell service along isolated and essential corridor of Highway 16, known as the Highway of Tears, between Smithers and Prince Rupert. For too long, we've heard from loved ones in anguish about the loss and trauma caused by the murders and disappearance of women and girls along the Highway of Tears. Last week's announcement reaffirms our commitment to making investments to the critical cellular service that will improve safety along Highway 16 so that women, especially Indigenous women who are not safe, can call for help and receive the services they need to ensure their safety and security. Today, I'm pleased to join Daylu Dena Council, Taku River Tlingit First Nation, Tahltan Nation, and the province of BC to announce funding for a new multi-purpose community building in Lower Post. Before I continue, I would like to say a few words regarding the importance of this announcement, has been underscored earlier. This new community building will stand on the site of the former residential school operated by the Roman Catholic Church between 1951 and 1975. The policies and operations that enabled the abuse suffered at the hands of residential schools is one of the darkest shames in Canadian history. Residential schools brought immeasurable suffering to Indigenous peoples, the effects of which continue to reverberate through generations of families and communities today, and constituted a deliberate attempt to strip culture and identity from Indigenous peoples. Today, in an effort to correct this historic injustice, the Government of Canada is investing more than $11.5 million in this new facility where Indigenous culture and community can once again be open, fostered, and celebrated. Today's announcement is the culmination of many years of work by Daylu Dena Council and federal and provincial partners to promote and support the construction of a new building to accommodate communities' needs. As a first step, Canada has worked closely with Daylu Dena to remediate the site of the former residential school, which was operated by Roman Catholics between 1951 and 1975, before the remaining section can be safely demolished, work which will be led by Daylu Dena Council. This new facility will include different spaces to accommodate various cultural and community purposes, including program rooms for beading, storytelling, elders, tea, an indoor gym, industrial kitchen, a garden, and other outdoor recreational areas. This facility will also offer office space for the Daylu Dena Council. Community centers are important as they create a focal point for activities that bring people together, share experiences, and to support one another, in addition to providing safe and accessible places for various activities. They can also serve to reflect shared values, to embrace all community members, and to inspire youth in particular. This project is a great example of what we can accomplish when we work closely together, fund community-specific projects, and we strongly support Daylu Dena in this important project and in implementing their vision for the future of their community. We look forward to the continued partnership. Canada is committed to advancing reconciliation based on recognition of rights, respect, cooperation, and partnership. Addressing the dark and painful legacy of residential schools is at the heart of reconciliation. It's at the heart of truth. I'm pleased that today's announcement embodies our commitment to right historic wrong. Investing in this infrastructure is important because it keeps communities safe, connected, supports healing, and allows people to live healthier lives. And as we look forward to our post-pandemic future, the Government of Canada is working more closely than ever with provincial, territorial, and Indigenous partners, especially with the great work being done in BC to invest in projects all across BC and the country that will create jobs, stimulate the economy, improve connectivity, and make our communities healthier and more resilient. We're supporting this strong, bright future for all, and I really look forward to continuous collaboration to achieve this. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the work done by local Member of Parliament Taylor Backrack, and I want to say a special thank you to Deputy Chief Schilling for your words and all members of Daylu Dena Council who have worked on this project. Suga Senla, I hope I said it right, for your leadership and dedication to your community. I hope the new building will become a joyful gathering space for the heart and soul of Daylu Dena and neighboring First Nations community. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Minister Miller, and I also would like to ask you to please thank Minister Catherine McKenna for her assistance, critical assistance in this, and to acknowledge, of course, your colleague who's a witness with us today, the Honourable Carolyn Bennett. I can confirm from the provincial perspective that this partnership that you've spoken of with respect to not only Indigenous peoples, but British Columbia in particular. And I salute you for your leadership and thank you for that collaboration. You mentioned, of course, the Highway of Tears infrastructure announcement. You mentioned the drinking water advisories and the progress really quite dramatic that has been made in our province in that regard. And I thank you as well for those initiatives. Premier Horgan visited Lower Post in 2019 and witnessed firsthand the effect of the remaining school structure upon the Kaska people to this day. He has been a passionate and tireless advocate in support of the project we are here to announce today. I now invite Premier Horgan to make his remarks.
Thank you, Murray, and I want to also thank Elder Hammond Dick for getting us started in a good way. I'm John Horgan. I have the honor and privilege of being the Premier of British Columbia, but I also have the honor of representing the territory of the Sauk and the Sianu of the Coast Salish people, as well as the Pacheedaht people in the Chalna territory here in the Legislative Assembly in the province of British Columbia. I want to also, before I begin, lift my hands to my friend Dave Porter, who began my education of the challenges faced by the residents of Lower Post some 3 or 4 years ago. And then, of course, I want to thank all of the people who joined my wife and I in 2019 after we were invited by the Daylu Dena Council, the Casca, the Taku River Tlingit, and the Tahltan to visit the territory. And as an aside, you need to know that when I left for work today, I told Ellie what we were going to do, and she wanted me to share with you the joy she had in her heart that finally colonial governments, the federal Liberal Party, the provincial NDP have listened to the people of the territory and are now doing what they should have done a long, long time ago. I think we would all acknowledge, having heard the stories as I did, of elders who were fearful of a building in the middle of their territory for decades and decades, not able to take action themselves because of the constraints of the colonial governments that were overseeing these projects. I lift my hands to Catherine McKenna, to Krista Freeland, to Carolyn Bennett, and to Marc Miller for having the foresight and the good sense to listen to the people of the territory when they told their stories. I was deeply moved by my visit to the territory and the opportunity for us all, collectively, the Casca, the Tahltan, the Taku River Tlingit, the provincial government, the federal government, and those non-Indigenous representatives around this table today, to experience and move forward with a profound, profound symbol of reconciliation is deeply moving for all of us. In 2019, we also passed the Declaration on the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples here in British Columbia in the form of the Declaration Act. And although that is a profoundly important first step toward new relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, it's small steps in the grand scheme of the multi-billion-dollar budgets that we oversee here in Victoria and in Ottawa, that a modest amount of money can have such a transformative impact, not just on the generation of today, but those generations who had to endure the horrors and the trauma of the residential school process that Minister Miller so eloquently described to us in his remarks. It is really, really the day to celebrate the Daylu Dena, the Casca, the Tahltan, and the Taku River Tlingit for persevering and for being patient and waiting for the moment when other governments would recognize the importance of taking these modest first steps towards genuine reconciliation and healing. I cannot stand here much longer without coming to tears by the stories that I heard when I was in the building that we are so gratefully tearing down now. And I look forward to visiting Lower Post again to celebrate the new beginning of a multi-purpose facility designed and built and operated for the people in the territory, by the people in the territory. To all of those who are participating today, I lift my hands. I thank again the federal government for being so responsive and turning around. These issues take a great deal of time. I know that to talk about patience to Indigenous peoples is something that comes naturally to you because you've heard so many people make promises and commitments to you in the past. But I'm very proud that today, together, all of us, starting from a few comments a few years ago, are now creating an opportunity for change, renewal, and reconciliation. Haisko, CM, to all those participating today, I look forward to the video presentation.
Thanks very much, Premier Horgan. I can tell you from probably the very first day I was asked to assume the responsibilities as minister, the Premier has told me about his personal passion for this project, I think from day one. And I'm so pleased to be standing here with you today. Now I'd like to show you a short video that just, I think, demonstrates what this project means to the Casca people.
I came here when I was 8 years old from Ross River, and I never knew cruelty until I came here.
The history started when I was 5 years old for me. It took me right from out of the bush. I can't speak my own language. When I got here, I didn't speak one word of English. Just Dena Dena stand. I spoke my language.
They start building this Indian residential school in 1948-49. It was opened in 1950s. I was only 5 years old when I came here. It's still with us today, the impacts that we never really dealt with.
Being born and raised here in Lower Post, I've always heard the stories about the residential school. My grandmother, my mother spent a little bit of time there, and it's always just been the stories of the negative effects. We lost our identity, who we are as a people. We lost being in touch with the land. It's a dark cloud that's been held over our people for way too long.
As I see it now, like it goes on from generation to generation.
4 or 5 generations down, that's how far that school affect our people. But it's not only us as Casca people. Other First Nation around us, they got infected by the school. So it's a bigger issue because it branches out so far. It's like a root of a tree that affects so many people.
We've used this building as an administration office for all services in our community. Our post office was there, our programs. If we didn't have that building, we wouldn't have anything. So it was almost our hand was forced to have to use something that was such a negative impact on our people. So this spot here, when I got into office, my desk used to be right here. And the chiefs before me, this is where they had to work out of. And we're actually standing in what used to be one of the old classrooms for when this building was used as a school. So to see that it's broken down into what it is now and just the skeleton of what it used to be, I'm pretty excited to finally have this building gone and for our people to start healing.
It's been a long time coming. The residential school has been a fight since 30 years, 30, 40 years. But here we are, going forward.
I would love this to bring healing. Lower Post could be a happy memory instead of a bad memory for a lot of people.
Residential school still has an impact to this day, I believe, on all the generations and generations to come. My parents survived that, and now I have to break a cycle that I was forced into. So a new building in the community like that to bring all the young people to learn and heal, I think it'll be great.
We're looking to have this be the heart and soul of our community, having a place for social programs to happen. Our economic development arm will be in the building. Our post office will be in there. We're hoping for a Service Canada and a Service BC office. But most importantly, it'll be a safe place. Considering the new buildings replacing a residential school, will give the people something to be proud and happy to enter every day.
A new building of our own design, of the Cascade design, it would be liberating.
It means a lot for the people here and for myself to start new, to start living our life again. A new beginning, to be Dena again, to put that past behind us, to look forward.
In 2012, gathering around the fire captured the beginning of our closure and healing that was long overdue for a lot of us who attended Lower Post Residential School. Now the removal of this building will honor the ones who passed, especially through our presence and endeavors, and hopefully it will complete our closure and assist our ongoing healing, not be a reminder of the horrendous past.
Wow, what a moving video, and what a reminder of the legacy of residential school has meant in people's lives, but also the sense of hope that this new building represents. Thank you so much for such an excellent production. I'd now like to introduce John D. Ward of the Taku River Tlingit First Nation to say a few words.
Thank you very much for all the wonderful things that's going on, and just my hands are up to the people that organized this event. It's a very moving video. There's some very great words that were said by some good leaders, as was pointed out, listening. You know, when I first heard the news of what is about to happen, I kind of experienced a little bit of a shock, because I've been involved for many years trying to address these issues, not just mission school, but rights and title issues and so on for many years. And all of a sudden to see something like this, my hands are really up to, you know, Premier Horgan, and taking the time to come and really experience that pain and so on that our people have gone through. And I think from this, we'll eventually really learn how to celebrate properly and get on with our lives. I realize it's going to take much more. I'm really, my hands up to the Deputy Chief Shilling, who said it's a good start. And when I spoke to some of our members before this is going to happen, and got some input and thoughts from them about this. And they just said, yeah, it's long overdue. It's a good place to start. And they look forward to coming together with neighboring nations and experience something. And I'm glad that this, what do you call it? This, what Deputy Minister Shilling calls it again, this ceremony that's coming up before the events really start taking place. And I really believe that this event can lead the way for Canada, because all of Canada needs to heal from this. It's a national experience. Governments need to heal, churches need to heal. And I think that we can really be a shining example of those. And I'm glad for the relationships that were built. And I also want to share my gratitude on behalf of Taku River Tlingits to those leaders that hung in there and worked really hard to keep this vision alive and getting us to this momentum milestone. Because to me, it is a milestone, and now it's going to create new events to get on with being Canadian, I suppose. So with that, thank you very much for this. Thank you. Gunshtish.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ward, and thank you so much as well for reminding us about the healing that this entails. I'm really grateful for your remarks, taking us to a higher level and tying it into all of Canada, the importance of what we're doing here today. I'd now like to invite my friend, Chad Norman Day, who's president of the Tahltan Central Government, to offer his remarks.
Chachalona Hotia, good morning. Chad Norman Day Ushia. My name's Chad Norman Day, Tahltan Jasini. I'm from the Tahltan Nation. I'm the spokesperson and the leader of the Tahltan Nation through the Tahltan Central Government. What a beautiful day this is today. I think I'm at a bit of a disadvantage because that was really emotional for me to watch that video. I'm the son of someone that went to residential school pretty close to Lower Post, and you know, so many of the people that I love and admire, the generation before me and the generation before that, were residential school survivors, and I just really want to acknowledge them first and foremost, and acknowledge all those residential school survivors throughout the country, throughout British Columbia, because without their strength and without them surviving and enduring everything they had to endure, future generations like myself would not be able to thrive and have the opportunities that we have today. You know, I grew up in a small town. I'm coming to you today from Wet'suwet'en territory. I grew up between Smithers and Telegraph Creek, and I wanted to be a dentist because our dentist had a pretty good life here in Smithers from what I could see growing up. And when I went to university and I started learning about the terrible history with the Indian Act and residential schools and everything like this, it really started to make sense. A lot of the trauma and a lot of the issues that I grew up with around my Tahltan family, and you know, all of our communities up there in the north, they're all very interconnected. So we all have Tahltan, Kaska, Tlingit family members, and it's a very different lifestyle being so isolated up there in the north. And ultimately, that's why I ended up changing my path and wanting to get into law, because at some point you learn that laws make a huge difference. The Indian Act is a law. And then once you go through law school and all of that, then you learn that it's guys like Premier Horgan that write the laws. So maybe as a lawyer, you know, you're not going to make all the impacts that you want. So then you transition into politics. And since I've been the president of the Tahltan central government, some of the proudest, most joyous work that I've been a part of is working with our Kaska and our Tlingit brothers and sisters in the north and building those collaborations and working together to make sure that we can collectively get projects like this over the finish line. It's a building that's being ripped down in Lower Post, and they're going to have a lovely new one built. But I view this as a northern accomplishment. I've been extremely proud to contribute to it as much as I could as part of the Three Nations. I know that there's going to be plenty of gatherings there with Tahltan, Kaska, Tlingits, and First Nations from all over the north and beyond. I'm truly excited to go and visit the building when we can start gathering again. I'm very proud of everybody that's contributed to this initiative in a good way, not just the people that are on this conference call, but obviously we've had leaders that have been pushing on this for decades, and they never gave up. And then they passed that responsibility on to us, and we were able to get it over the finish line, but we wouldn't have been able to do that without their work and sacrifice. I want to thank Premier Horgan for coming up. We haven't had a premier up in northern BC for decades, and I look forward to him being able to visit, you know, all three territories the next time that he comes to the north. And I just want to raise my hands to everybody and just say this is a very joyous day. I hope that it brings healing to all those that need healing. And just as importantly, I hope that it paves the way for our children and grandchildren so that we can build a better, brighter future for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, President Day, and thank you for the reminder of just how painful this has been, but what a journey of healing we're on as well. I got to think that replacing this building with a welcoming place for community members is going to make such an important difference and be such an important step forward. A step toward reconciliation with the Kaska Dena and, as you noted, Indigenous people throughout the north and beyond.